In the middle of the Game Awards, Sony decided to drop a demo of Forspoken for everyone to play. So I ran over to my PlayStation, booted it up, started the download, and a little bit later, I was in and playing the tutorial. So they start you off at level 17, you have a bunch of gear, some items, and a whole bunch of spells. Your spells are cast by using R2 or L2. You can change which spell is selected by using R1 or L1 and then the thumbstick to select the spell. And when you use R1 and L1 together, you can change your type of magic completely, giving you a whole bunch of other spells to cast. So there is the potential for a ton of different spells you can cast and use. But as much as they seem like they're at your fingertips to use, they're not.
Right in the sweet spot. That's what I call a pick-me-up.
Glad you're feeling on top of your game.
There's one big thing missing in all of this flashy combat, and that's flow. Think of the combat flow Ghost of Tsushima had. You had 4 different stances you could swap between seamlessly as you needed with simple button combinations, each stance giving you access to different combos and different ways of fighting. On top of that, a whole bunch of ninja items that you could be using, and a couple of ranged weapons. You could, in the middle of combat, pull out your bow and take out a foe from afar, throw a shuriken, drop a smoke bomb, and run around. Everything was at your fingertips, and you could do it seamlessly. Or better yet, think of Devil May Cry. This one came to mind because, like Forspoken, you're given letter scores after a combat scenario. In Devil May Cry, you typically have your guns, 3 different weapons, each with different forms and uses, grapples, and more. You swap between these on the fly and annihilate your enemies, and the flow just feels so good. Forspoken doesn't have any of that, and it desperately needs it. Each spell feels like an individual component with minor synergy to others at best. And when you think you found a combo, the process to swap between the spells to pull it off is the exact opposite of what combat flow is. But not only that, there's also no verticality in combat, which is weird given all the movement this magical parkour gives you. I was imagining running up to a guy, hitting him with my fire sword a few times, knocking him into the air, then jumping up there, blasting him away with some earth spell, and then throwing a spear through him. You can do exactly none of that. Even if you ignored the verticality part, none of that is possible. And that's because there's no flow, no chaining together of these abilities in any meaningful way. But Stryftek, your references before were melee combat. This is a magic game. It's different. Well, lucky for you, I have a third example, Black Desert Online. When I first saw the trailers for Forspoken, I was secretly hoping it would be like Black Desert Online, but a single-player story-driven version. That game is nothing but combat flow. On screen now is one of the magic users annihilating enemies with various combos and spells as they dance around the battlefield, and it is a ton of fun. I think Forspoken's need to swap between basically every spell you want to cast is what really breaks up this flow. Casting a spell with R2 and then having to hold R1 and use the analog stick to select a new spell, and then cast that spell with R2 again for every spell you want to cast is awful. Give me magical stances I can customize and swap between. Just imagine it. You hold something like L2 and then you can press square, triangle, X, or circle and pick one of the 4 stances you customized. So you press L2 and triangle and you're into this earth stance. Square, triangle, and circle can be all different abilities, and then those in combination with L1, R1, and R2 give you 3 different permutations of them. You would have every spell you wanted at your fingertips and then easily able to swap over to a different stance and cast different ones. Oh, and then just add some verticality to the combat.
I think we might need to take a step back.
I couldn't agree more.
So yeah, after completing the demo, I don't feel optimistic about this game anymore. Oh, I didn't even touch on how the quality and ray tracing modes were basically unplayable. The frame rates are way too low for this quick action game. But I am still holding out a little bit of hope. Maybe it's because we were thrown in at level 17 in the middle of everything. We didn't have the past 16 levels to learn and grow with the system. Maybe it's something that grows on you and feels better as you learn it over time. I don't know, but I still have at least one set of fingers crossed. Now, don't take my word for it. Go over, download the demo for yourself, and play it. Then come back here, jump in the comments, and either argue with me about how I'm wrong or tell me how right I was. And then like and subscribe. I am still working on the Callisto Protocol review. That should be up soon. Dinging the bell will let you know the second it goes live. So until then, Stryftek out.
You need to be a little more patient.
You done stating the obvious? Incoming! Ah!